The producers cut a scene where Rumi and Jinu kissed each other, and this made the fans really mad, me included. And we'll still have the reveal that Seline was involved in Rumi's parents' death. But now, in this video, I'll show you all the deleted scenes from K-pop demon hunters that changed the course of the movie. Let's check it out, what they took from us. Hey beautiful people, I'm Julie, and it's incredible to see the number of deleted scenes in the final version of this movie, really. From clothes that the protagonist didn't use, to sport events involving the Huntr and the Saja Boys, like a bowling competition called ISAC, Idol Star Athletic Championship, pretty popular event in Korea that shows the athletic side of the idols, besides promoting their interaction with many other groups. These concept images were shared by the illustrator Henry Wong, and in them we see the Saja Boys had totally different hair colors from the final versions, so it is from when they hadn't completely finished their style. Abby would have these green hairs instead of the pink one, and would have a more simplistic hairstyle, unlike the one we see in the final version. Now, Baby would have blonde hair, not light green hair. And even though it is a pretty popular thing in Korea, the producers decided to remove this championship scene and place the fan meeting one instead, since most of the world isn't familiar with this event, and maybe wouldn't get why the Huntrix were shooting targets competing with Saja Boys. And dude, seeing these other concept images, it seems that we would have a private moment between Jinu and Rumi, which wouldn't probably reveal to us more about those two, but sadly it was cut off the final version. Now, a whole scene that was just cut and added so much to the movie's lore is about Rumi's past, and it would take place between her confront with Seline and the final battle. In it, we had Rumi singing a song while she walks towards her mother's grave, which is broken and obscure, like if some sort of demon energy / magic was taken over it. And with the same patterns we see in demons while many of them appear from the depths. At some point, this dark magic takes the girl's hands, forcing her to come closer to her mother's grave. And this makes Rumi have a flashback from her past, showing her as a baby in her mother's arm, together with her demon father, who apparently isn't Gwi-Ma. And as soon as Rumi touches her mother's grave, we have another scene from the past with her father, and he's given a small purple flower to her still as a kid. Then Rumi kinda summons a magic that has the same color as this flower, scaring all the demons that were there. And the colors of Rumi's demon, as well as her left eye, would be purple instead of this magical flower that her dad gave to her, in a different shade from the final version. It would be from this flower that she would summon her sword. You know, the one that she always used to kill demons. Dude, I have no idea why they took out this scene. Besides explaining the origin of this magic sword, it also shows a little bit about her father, something that we didn't even come to see in the final version of the movie. And to make us even madder, one of the artists revealed what happened to Rumi's parents, and it has to do with Seline. But you have to leave a massive like in this video before I continue, because you might forget due to the massive reveals that are coming right up. Guys, you have no idea of the many romantic moments between Rumi and Jinu they took from us. Really. And one that is more than comic moment is this one that you're seeing right now on the screen of Rumi tearing his shirt down unintentionally during a fight, revealing his really nice six-pack. Something that makes Rumi blush, and by Jinu's reaction, this wasn't the first time his shirt was torn unintentionally. Apparently, Jinu would have more fan service than Abby. Well, I wish. But what really messes with fans' heads was the Korean scene. Dude, this scene is only Jinu and Rumi's romance, like a date between those two in Aquarian, with a blue scenario with everything so romantic and peaceful, which also portrays the sad part of them both, about not being able to be free with themselves. And in this scene, Rumi would wear a more traditional and simple braid, and at some point, Jinu would compliment her hair while touching her face, and would compliment her demon marks, say how beautiful they were, and would follow that with a kiss. You see how beautiful this scene would have been? Come on. And we wouldn't have one scene, but two kissing scenes. That's because according to Charles Hilton Art, one of the movie's artists, Rumi and Jinu's duet in the song Free would finish with a kiss. Something that I expected during the whole song but never happened. But according to Charles in an Instagram comment, only Laura Price had the storyboard for this scene and no one else. And the image that my editor is showing to you guys right now is just a random doodle for a scene between Rumi and Jinu. But funnily enough, every artist in the movie draw a scene involving the couple. Just so you know, the whole production team wanted a kissing scene between those two, still in the first movie. Come on, they took so much from us. In one of the concept arts, we see Rumi covering her face and crying, asking Seline with her demon voice why did she kill her parents. Meanwhile, we see the Honmoon barrier weakening, as some demons were breaching through it. This made fans question and theorize that Seline was actually the villain of the movie, and that she killed Rumi's parents on purpose. And look, if people already didn't like her, those theories made fans hate Seline even more. But according to one of the artists, Becky Simon, Seline isn't and never was meant to be the movie's villain. It so happens that she indeed killed Rumi's parents, but on accident, and that according to him, it had something to do with Rumi's dad. But he can't say more about that to not ruin the surprise in case the movie gets a sequel. Otherwise, this would be a heavy spoiler. But you guys know me, right? I couldn't miss the chance of theorizing on top of all we saw so far. So my first theory is Seline didn't know that Rumi's father was a demon and found out by accident. Then when she tried to kill Rumi's demon dad, her mother threw herself in front of him to protect her man and ended up being killed by Seline instead. Then Seline would have killed Rumi's dad for revenge and anger, but would soon regret that after learning that he left his daughter behind alone. Now, the second theory is that her dad at some point started to be controlled by Gwi-Ma, since Rumi's Greystone is surrounded by demon magic, and she wasn't even the demon. Some fans are saying that her father linked her mother's soul with his in order to prevent Gwi-Ma from controlling him. But Seline must have thought that he was plotting something against everyone and decided to kill him, not knowing that by killing him, she would also kill Rumi's mother, since he linked their souls. And dude, I find this rather sad because however that happened, Seline must have felt so guilty for an accident that she didn't want to cause to her friend, Rumi's mother, and maybe she's overprotective with Rumi to avoid her being killed, just like her father. Now tell me, does that change the way that you see Seline, or do you keep hating her? Let's discuss this in the comments, shall we? And just so you have a little taste, this was Rumi's father's original design, and it kinda reminds me of Jinu. And like by Rumi's hair being purple, I thought that her father would also have that hair color, but no. Apparently, Rumi's hair is a representation of her demon father's skin color, purple, while her appearance comes from her human mother. We'd also have more scenes of Rumi as a kid, and also from her training, as we see in these images I'm showing you guys right now. And truthfully speaking, I'm really sad for not getting those scenes in the final cut. It would have brought so much depth to her past, her trajectory from her childhood to her adult self, and consequently see more of her parents too. That's why I say that K-pop Demon Hunters would have been a series, not a 1-hour movie. But if it had to be a movie, it should have at least had a 2 hours and a bit. But what really crushed me was the fact that Jinu was already planned to, how can I say, be sacrificed. This is because according to Hanacho, one of the animators, this scene that you guys are seeing right now is from a previous version of the original story, where he would help the Huntrix in the final fight against the villain, but would end up vanishing. And in this moment, Jinu would leave his head with Rumi. And dude, this would be a great as a final kiss, but even more dramatic and sentimental. And to crush you guys even more, Marian Bordenai colored this final scene of them both, the moment when Jinu gives his head to Rumi before disappearing. I must say that I much prefer this concept version of the end than the one we got, mostly because these colors make the scene feel more alive, rich and thrilling. Why did they took that from us? But I must remind you that because these scenes were cut from the movie, they might not even be canon anymore. So much that the producers or the director itself could make Gwi-Ma Rumi's father. But until there, we're left only but to theorize. And if you also like to see these concept arts that didn't make to the final cut, you should also like to see hidden details and curiosities of K-pop demon hunters that almost no one noticed. Enjoy the video and hasta la vista!